So welcome back, Chapter 5, Bargaining in Good Faith. There are other cases where the process can be conducted in a fair manner. The case Healthcare Developer Inc. versus Newfoundland requires all person issuing the tender called to act in good faith. Other cases will have similar obligations by having the implied terms in the contract, which require all bidders to be treated fairly and equally. Quote, "The requirement of fair and equal treatment precludes the correction of an individual bid by a bidder after the close of a tender's, even, perversely it may be thought, where it is evident that, even without the correction, the bidder in question is the lowest bid." Unquote, page 149. This means that the bidder to correct the bid would be a breach of implied terms. Duty to bargain in good faith in the absence of a contract. The traditional view is that there exists no duty to bargain in good faith as a separate and discrete tort. There are two cases where duty to bargain in good faith could be grounded in tort or tort-like duty. First one, number one, TV Group Limited versus CanWest Global Broadcasting Inc. TV Group negotiated with CanWest over the sale of a program. The plaintiff alleged that the defendant never had the intention of entering into an agreement. Instead, the defendant had plans to apply for a license to broadcast within the plaintiff's licensed area. The fruitless negotiation would be proof to the CRTC that it was not successful in selling its program to the plaintiff's licensed area. The plaintiff would naturally argue that it was a breach of duty to negotiate in good faith. In Martel Building Limited versus Canada, bargaining in bad faith could be considered the tort of negligence causing economic loss. To summarize this case, the defendant had a 10-year lease agreement on an apartment with the plaintiff. The 10-year lease was coming to an end and the lease did not commit agency to renewal. The plaintiff was given the impression that the government agency had agreed to a particular rent and renewal would be forthcoming. At the same time, the defendant agency had a call for tender for a lease space and entered into a lease with the lowest bidder. The plaintiff was not the lowest. The defendant did not make its negotiating position clear to the plaintiff. The plaintiff lost the benefit of a 10-year renewal of the lease. In the plaintiff's view, the misconduct of the defendant caused a breach of tort of failure to negotiate in good faith. The conduct of the plaintiff did not amount to negligence of a kind that would give rise to a liability of injuries in the form of economic loss. Unquote, page 153. The Supreme Court states, quote, "Whether or not negotiations are to be governed by a duty of good faith is a question for another time." Unquote. The federal court alleged that there was a breach of a duty to bargain in good faith, but the Supreme Court did not. The Supreme Court rejects the idea of extending the tort negligence into economic loss due to the breach of duty to negotiate in good faith or from the conduct of pre-contractual negotiation. What is negotiating in bad faith? There are three types of negligence in the course of negotiation. Number one, rendering on a promise given in the course of the negotiation. Number two, refusal to make reasonable effort to reach an agreement. Number three, breach of negotiating in order to accept a more attractive proposal from a third party. Alright, two caveat added to the observation of implied obligation to bargain in good faith. Number one, a good faith obligation will be implied only where the option to renew sets forth an objective standard, i.e. market rental. Number two, good faith obligation have the effect of imposing a duty to agree on a reasonable term.